Hi Pisces. This reading is called Incomplete Does Not Mean Unreal. And I think this is for anybody who has been looking at something that has begun a change, a healing process, a new direction, maybe even a new version of yourself, and dismissing it because it's not fully arrived yet. You have the Eight of Swords in reverse, the Tower, and the Sun right here. I want to show you first the Eight of Swords upright first, because I really love the way this deck imagined this card. You have this woman standing with her head down. She's blindfolded. Her body is wrapped, and there are swords surrounding her. And the feeling of the card is very clear. I am stuck. I cannot see a way out. I don't know what to do next. But when you really look at her, there's something else going on. She's standing there, but she's not trying to move. She's not testing the bindings. She's not reaching for the blindfold. She's not checking whether there's actually a path between the swords. And I don't say this critically because sometimes when you felt stuck for long enough, you stop checking. You begin to accept the feeling as the truth. You say, well, this is just where I am. This is what my life is. This is the way the situation works. This is what I'm capable of. And eventually you may not even notice that part of what is keeping you there is the belief that nothing can change. But this card came out in reverse. So I think the first message here is that you've begun to realize something. The stuckness was not as absolute as it felt. It doesn't mean the situation was imaginary. It doesn't mean the difficulty wasn't real. It means that you're starting to see where you still have movement, choice, influence, or access to yourself. And that realization may be very new. You may still feel tied. You may still feel uncertain. You may still be standing inside the old structure while beginning to understand that you don't have to remain there forever. And then you have the Tower. Now, the Tower can represent a sudden change, a revelation, something being cleared out, or a structure that can no longer continue in the form that it's been in. But in this reading, I'm not entirely convinced that the Tower is telling you that everything's about to blow up. I think the Tower may represent what you're afraid has to happen in order for your life to change. Because sometimes when we're in an unfinished process, we begin to believe that only something dramatic will move us forward, right? We think maybe I need to quit everything. Maybe I need to leave everything. Maybe I need one enormous sign. Maybe I need the universe to come in, strike the building with lightning, burn it to the ground, make the decision for me. And there are people who can almost feel relief when a Tower moment arrives, because now they no longer have to decide. The situation has decided for them. The relationship ends, the job disappears, the plan collapses, the structure is removed. And although it can be painful, there's also this feeling of, well, now I have no choices. I have to begin again. But there's a problem with relying on destruction to create change. You can move to a different house, start a different relationship, choose a different job, and build a completely different life. But if you never learn how to create order inside yourself, you can rebuild the same structure somewhere else. You can burn down a house and still carry the original blueprint in your pocket. So I think this reading is asking whether you truly need a tower, or whether you're imagining that only a tower would be powerful enough to prove that change is real. Because then you have the Sun. And this Sun card is very interesting. The light in the sky is enormous, but it doesn't look like the usual bright yellow sun that we often see in tarot. It almost looks lunar. It almost looks like a reflection of the sun rather than the sun itself. There's a child on a white horse surrounded by flowers looking toward that light. And that strange reflected quality may be part of the message. Clarity doesn't always arrive in the form you expected. Sometimes you think clarity will feel like absolute certainty. You imagine it'll be loud, immediate, and impossible to question, but sometimes clarity is quieter than that. Sometimes it's one honest realization, one new boundary, one small decision. One day where you react differently than you usually would. One moment where you notice that something that used to control you no longer has the same power. It may not look like the finished result yet. It may only be the reflection of what is coming, but a reflection still tells you that the light exists. And there are two kinds of fire in this reading. There's the fire of the tower, the lightning strike, the explosion, the force that destroys what can no longer stand. And then there's the fire of the sun, the light that reveals, warms, nourishes, and helps things grow. Both can create change. But you may not need destruction every time you need clarity. You may not need your entire life to collapse before you give yourself permission to move. You may simply need to recognize the movement that's already begun. The Eight of Swords reverse says you are starting to see the way out. The Tower says you may still be bracing for the worst or assuming that change must be dramatic. And the Sun says there's another possibility. You can move toward the light before the building burns down. You can make a choice before the choice is made for you. You can begin creating a different structure with parts of the old one are still standing. And I think this is where this title comes in. Incomplete does not mean unreal. You may not be fully free yet, but the loosening is real. You may not have finished the result yet, but the beginning is real. You may not feel completely confident, healed, ready, certain, but the awareness you have gained is real. So don't dismiss the seed because it doesn't yet. It's not a tree yet. Don't dismiss the foundation because it's not a house yet. Don't dismiss your movement because you haven't reached your destination. And please don't create a disaster simply because you're struggling to recognize the beginning. Some of you may be afraid of what could happen. You may be anticipating a tower moment, watching the sky, waiting for the lightning, preparing yourself for everything to go wrong. But the final card here is the Sun. The reading doesn't end in the tower. It ends with visibility, movement. It ends with life growing around you. It ends with the child on a white horse moving toward the light. So perhaps the real question is not, when is everything going to change? Perhaps it's, what's already changed that I've not allowed myself to count? Because something has begun, Pisces. It may still be unfinished. It may still be fragile. It may not look the way you thought it would. But incomplete, it doesn't mean unreal. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it. I post here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have Everything Pisces, my other channel, my first channel that I started on. So, I don't know. Go watch that. Come back here. Either way, I'm glad to have you. Take care. Bye for now.